Hello, I'm Mark Boyd, a lapsed diver and active snorkeler from Holt. Sadly, I can't be with you in person today, but Rob has asked me to provide something a little different. Inspirational is what he said. Well, that's for you to decide, isn't it? Here are a few minutes about what the reef means to me in my artistic life. It's all a work in progress. I've been a birdwatcher all my life, and I like to think I have a decent grasp of the UK's wildlife, on land that is. I even have degrees in ecology. As with other naturalists, my interest is part scientific conservationist, part serious hobbyist. I like to name what I'm looking at, but identification is just the hook on which to hang information. It's perhaps a bit too passive for me, and actually even information and facts aren't enough. I want ways to respond to nature more creatively than simply naming, counting, photographing, or even reading about it. That's where art comes in. As a birdwatcher, I like to see new and rare birds. As an artist, I'm happy with a pencil and a pair of wood pigeons. Species are not distributed evenly across the land. Habitat is increasingly fragmented or just plain rare, and I like to see wildlife close up, so seabird cliffs are ideal. But one effect of all this patchiness is we tend to switch off between anticipated encounters with wildlife. We also perhaps focus too tightly on our target species. We're used to seeing large empty areas and assuming that they really are empty. That even goes for the sea. Sure, I've known that where you find eider ducks, there'll be mussel beds beneath the waves, and that terns without sand eels are in trouble. But despite my background, snorkelling the chalk reef over the past 3 years has been a complete revelation to me as a biologist, and perhaps even more so as an artist. My interest in art is all about life, energy, and, to be a bit pretentious about it, seeing and capturing and then playing with observed truth. I work from living, moving, flying, wriggling wildlife as much as I can, and not from photographs, and don't aim for realism. Why? Because I use art as my response to wildlife. I use science and maths to record, but art to respond, and photography only as a tool to help either approach. I never aim to produce a field guide or illustration. It's all about fine art for me. And I'm not going to overclaim my abilities or achievements. This is something I do because I enjoy it, because it helps me to see the world better, and not because I'm particularly expert at its execution. So, drawing underwater from life. The chalk reef presents some real problems, the first of which is how to make marks underwater that capture its energy. So far, colour is out, but I found that a plastic clipboard with an extra clip at the foot end and a very soft pencil and strong watercolour paper can do the job, even if it's a bit of a handful. Even better, waterproof paper is robust and easy to use. The second issue is that even at the mythical low water slack, when you're snorkelling, you don't stay still. You look down at your paper, look up again, and you're lost. Even if your crab hasn't retreated into a hole, you may not find it again for your next mark. This means having to work fast. I have to keep my eye on the subject and not so much on the paper, and I have to make a very rapid assessment about what is important to the drawing. It may be vital to the lobster that its carapace has the right number of segments, but to my drawing, a sense of how they and the legs move in relation to its bonkers and red antennae may be more important to getting the life into the image. If the resultant scrawl looks biologically inaccurate but fun and exciting, that's a win. Accuracy can be built in later, if at all, but not at the expense of energy on the page, and that energy always comes from the initial drawing in the field. The next issue is one you'll all be familiar with, the sheer beauty, variety and splendour of the undersea environment. All those glorious occasions when visibility is good and the sand has dropped out of the water column, the colours and forms of what's down there are simply astonishing. The seaweed is every bit as colourful as a New England autumn, with loose pale green pasta spirals of Grattalupia, the scarlet saw-teeth of eyelash weed, iridescent flashes, and all manner of fluffy green stuff that I do my best to name on sea search forms. Well, where can this lead an artist? Anywhere. Now you know this, but taking artist time to respond to the beauty of what lies thigh deep in the North Sea, rather than just recording its identity and abundance, has deepened its hold on me. I mentioned how we become accustomed, immune even, to the huge gaps between patches of biodiversity richness on land. That simply hasn't been a problem underwater. If there isn't something in the water column itself, even over sand there's a possibility of disturbing a flatfish or a travelling hermit crab. there's a heightened sense of concentration when viewing the seafloor through a mask. So how to do it all justice? How to compose in ways that work artistically? In other words, how to arrange on the page in ways that please the eye and that tell the right story. Well, looking down on the subject largely takes perspective out of it. The light is often flat as well. So there's various things that we don't actually need to worry about when we're drawing on land. Anyway, there are more approaches here than there are artists, and this isn't really the place to be prescriptive. Currently, I'm finding that the open water creatures, the sand smelts and jellyfish in particular, are providing useful compositional links, ways of preventing a picture just becoming a random collection of badly drawn creatures. My meagre-looking pencil drawings have so far ended up as paintings, dry points and lino prints, mixed media collages, and even bits of wire. There'll be more to come from existing and new excursions. I've a huge amount to do before I can say I'm comfortable with most of my underwater art, but it's already been such an exciting and interesting challenge that I can barely wait for the wind to drop and to have another go. It's a completely different way to enjoy the reef. It combines well enough with the more rigorous data collection of our sea search forms and touches other areas of my life. Enjoying the reef this way has made me a better artist, a better naturalist, and a better observer. When we add the exercise, the sheer fun, and all the crazy stuff I've learnt about the reef, I mean, who knew about stalk jellies? And it may even have made me a better person. When you're diving, photographing and recording the reef life, or when I'm doing the same with Gimcrack Art Kit and Snorkel, let's just remember why we're doing it. It's not just to gather data for conservation ends, it's also to celebrate marine life in all its squidgy, flashing psychedelic beauty as something to love. That's really why we need the reef's conservation, not for the tourism, not for the fishing industry, not even for wide-eyed notions of sustainability, but just so we don't extinguish another astonishing part of the natural world and give people a reason not to love it and all things marine. And if you can do all that for me, with a pencil, just think what it could do for you.